America's coasts continue to be devastated by flooding. A major vote in Oklahoma City will decide the fate of a former OU student's life and why updating your phone could impact your safety. This is OU Nightly. Thanks for joining us for OU Nightly. I'm Tingelstad.
And I'm Kayla Davis. We begin tonight with a tropical storm battering the Texas and Louisiana coastlines. Flooding is the major concern with Tropical Storm Nicholas. CNN's Chris Nguyen has the latest from the Gulf Coast.
For us, that means there is a flash flood watch in effect through at least 7 a.m. on Thursday.
Hours after making landfall on the Texas coast as a Category 1 hurricane, Nicholas now moving dangerously slow to the east, threatening to bring high winds and dump up to a foot of rain in parts of coastal Texas and Louisiana, raising concerns for flash flooding. The National Weather Service predicting life-threatening storm surge of up to 5 feet as Nicholas bears down.
It will be a very slow-moving storm across the state of Texas that will linger for several days and will drop a tremendous amount of rainwater.
Those dangerous storm surge warnings and watches extending to Louisiana, where people are still recovering from the devastation left behind when Hurricane Ida hit 2 weeks ago.
One of the things that could exacerbate the threat of flooding are all the ditches and catch basins and storm drains and so forth, all these drainage systems that have debris from previous storms that hasn't yet been cleaned up.
More than 6.5 million people are under flash flood watches that extend from Texas to the Florida Panhandle. In Texas, several 100,000 customers are without power as crews wait until weather conditions improve to tackle repairs.
It's too windy still for them to go out and fix those down power lines. It's dangerous for their crews.
Reporting from the Gulf Coast, I'm Chris Nguyen.
To help those recovering from storms, you can always donate to the Red Cross.
Some folks were hoping that the Gulf Coast storms would bring us some cooler weather.
Let's check in with Mikayla Smith for a first look at the forecast. Mikayla, any chance?
Yeah, so that cooler weather isn't technically coming from Nicholas. Nicholas did make landfall last night, though, as a Category 1 hurricane. It's dumping a ton of water now in the Houston area, which is prone to flooding. And then that's going to continue to move off towards Louisiana and places that have already seen a ton of flooding and devastation from Ida. So we can see the rainfall that's already been dropped, and it's going to continue to push more east as the storm tracks very slowly. But here we have a wet Wednesday, some rain chances tomorrow. Smokey the Bear is making an appearance with some wildfire smoke in the atmosphere. And do we have a cool down in sight? Well, I'll let you all know that coming up.
Thanks, Mikayla. A major vote took place yesterday in the case of Julius Jones. OU Nightly's Will Blessing is live with a look at what happens next.
Yes, guys, I was up in the city to get the reaction from Julius Jones' supporters. Jones, who used to be a student here at OU before being convicted of murder in 1999, now with a chance to avoid the death penalty. An emotional scene yesterday as supporters of Julius Jones celebrate the Pardon and Parole Board's recommendation that Julius Jones' sentence be reduced to life in prison with an option for parole. Jones has been in prison since being convicted of first-degree murder of an Edmond man, Paul Howell, in 1999. But those who support Jones believe the original case had racist undertones, ineffective public defense, and conflicting statements. With this commutation, there is a chance that a sentence could be shortened.
Provided for, again, under the Constitution, it is a shortening of a sentence. They're commuting or decreasing a sentence.
With the recommendation, the decision is left to Governor Kevin Stitt.
He can decide what he wants to do based on what he thinks is right, what he thinks is appropriate. There's no sort of rules that he has to follow or findings he has to make. I mean, literally, it is entirely in his court to do what he thinks is the right and appropriate thing to do.
A statement from the governor's office says that he takes his role in this process very seriously and that he will carefully consider the recommendation. Even though the decision isn't final, supporters of Jones viewed the 3-1 vote as a victory.
So we are anticipating that the governor holds true and shows grace and mercy and sides on the favor of the Pardon and Parole Board. And we can look forward to seeing Julius walk out.
Not everyone is happy with yesterday's vote. The family of Paul Howell still believe Jones is guilty.
We do plan to meet with Governor Stitt if he'll see us, because we feel that we did not get a fair hearing today.
Both the Jones family and the Howell family will have to wait until a final decision is made by Governor Stitt. Back to you in the studio.
The governor's office declined to answer when the decision on the commutation will be made. The Oklahoma State Department reports just over 1,000 COVID cases today. This is a low number of new cases today. However, the State Department still reports 18,742 active cases. There have been exactly 9,600 deaths recorded in the state.
As the mask controversy continues to escalate on campus, the Student Government Association released a letter to Governor Stitt this week in hopes for a mask mandate. Many members of the OU community have been looking to administration to put forward the mandate. However, due to the Senate Bill 658, any hope for masks to be required on campus is in the hands of the Oklahoma government. SGA Vice President Alex Gray says she thinks a collective voice is what will get the message across.
So we said, okay, we can use our power as student leaders, as a collective student body, and we wrote the letter to Governor Stitt and are collecting signatures for it until Wednesday. But the
SGA leaders have collected over 200 signatures so far and hopes that this could be the message that could get across to the governor's office.
Full parking lots are common at class and urgent care. The doors open at 7 a.m., but if you are not in line by 6:15, the wait could be hours. The long lines are due to the hundreds of COVID patients in and out of these doors daily. The high demand of rapid COVID tests caused their supply to run out by 9 a.m. To do a PCR lab test, it could take between 5 to 8 days to get results. With the labs overrun and rapid tests sold out in stores nearby, the people of Norman are frustrated with the wait.
I came here last semester and usually they were pretty good about it, but there really shouldn't be an excuse for running out of tests, especially right now.
If you are experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, visit your local urgent care or Goddard, but be prepared to wait.
Millions of Afghans are without food and the supply is quickly depleting. Dylan Rivera has that story and the rest of today's headlines from around the world.
In Afghanistan today, a lack of jobs and rising prices is leading many to hunger. And experts are saying the country is on the verge of a humanitarian crisis. On the ground, the World Food Program distributed bags of food to aid citizens in Mazar-e-Sharif. However, there are a reported 38 million facing emergency or crisis levels of food insecurity. The now Taliban-led country has received only 39% of the $1.3 billion needed for aid efforts. Afghans fearing the current food stock will run out by the end of September. The U.S. Department of Justice has announced reformed measures for federal law enforcement officers. Some of the changes include prohibiting federal officers from using chokeholds and carotid artery restraints unless deadly force is authorized. The DOJ also announcing tighter restrictions on the use of no-knock entries. The reform comes as a result of, quote, a number of recent tragedies. And Russian President Vladimir Putin is in quarantine after several members of his inner circle have tested positive for coronavirus. Putin, who is vaccinated, has tested negative but will be kept separate from others for an unspecified amount of time. The news comes just hours after the Russian president met with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Russian spokesman Dmitry Peskov said in a conference call that at the time of the meeting, doctors were still doing their tests, but nobody's health was endangered. And comedian and actor Norm Macdonald died today after a long and private battle with cancer. He was best known for his role on Saturday Night Live as an anchor on the Weekend Update. Macdonald was 61 years old.
Thanks, Dylan. Measles seemed like a thing of the past, but is now hindering some people's journey to safety.
Plus, one country has started vaccinating children as young as 6 years old. Stick with us.
Afghan refugees trying to enter the U.S. are dealing with an unexpected disease. Kaitlyn Deggs has this story and more in today's Health Beat.
Thanks, Kaylee. Flights carrying Afghan refugees have temporarily been halted following a disease outbreak. Measles was found in 5 people who recently arrived in the U.S. These flights of refugees are coming to the U.S. from military bases in Germany and Qatar. Officials are working to contact anyone who might have been exposed to the virus, but they have not announced where the cases are. Those infected are in quarantine and are receiving medical care. The Department of Defense says they are now working to vaccinate evacuees before they leave. And Chile has started vaccinating children as young as 6 years old. The Chilean Institute of Public Health authorized the use of the Chinese vaccine CoronaVac last week for children with specific health conditions. This makes Chile one of the few countries in the world to approve this vaccine for children in the 6 to 11 age range. So far, almost 90% of Chileans who are eligible are fully vaccinated. And people who were hospitalized with COVID-19 might be at risk to develop an autoimmune disease. The study published in the journal Nature Communications says that 50% of seriously ill patients developed an antibody linked to an autoimmune disease. Researchers believe that this disease is caused by the immune system going into overdrive if it doesn't respond quick enough. And guys, a new report from the Kaiser Family Foundation estimates that the U.S. has spent nearly $6 billion treating unvaccinated patients in hospitals over the past 3 months. The foundation says that they believe these numbers are vastly underestimated. Back to you.
Thanks, Kaitlyn.
And we all know the pain of updating our phones. Learn why it's more urgent now than ever.
And Mikayla Smith, give us a weather update.
The weather's beautiful today, but we do have a chance of showers overnight to tomorrow, and it's going to be a bit cooler, but that sunshine will return. I'll give you the whole forecast coming up. Welcome back to OU Nightly. You can take a current look at OKC. We can see it is a beautiful day. Temperature sitting around 90 degrees. Those winds are coming out of the south, but that dew point is low, which has made it nice and comfortable for most of us today. Our current temperatures here for the metro, 89 Oklahoma City, 88 more. A little bit hotter here in Norman, but for the resounding portion of the state, we can see we're in those upper 80s and lower 90s. So it's been a pretty nice day. We can see that air quality has been what's keeping us a bit cooler than what we probably were expected. That haze we can see right here in Norman, but it's coming from those wildfires out into the west. So San Francisco, that area, all that fire smoke is being dropped down here into the Norman area in Oklahoma. So we can see our current air quality index is it's in the moderate category, so it's not the best, but it could be worse. Now, that's going to clear out those. We have a storm system that's going to move through later on tonight. Here's that rain zone. So it's going to be most likely up towards the Kansas border as that works its way down. But we do have a few chances for some pop-up showers here in Oklahoma City and Norman. So I'll give you a look at what that's going to look like. So we can see late into tonight into tomorrow, that's when that first round is going to come through. Push through, it's going to kind of dissipate as it gets close off into the city, but that boundary is going to stick around. And so we have a few more pop-up showers late into tomorrow as we go into Thursday morning, and then those are going to clear off and we're going to have that sunshine perfectly back and we're going to start warming up. So our lows tonight, 69 in the city, 68 here in Norman. It's around normal for this time of year, but our highs tomorrow are going to be a bit above average, but it's going to be a slightly cooler day than we had today because of that small cold front that's coming through. But looking out for the rest, well, that temperature outlook we can see, this is for the next 8 to 14 days. We're not getting that cold. This cold is going to be out here, which they're going to be a welcome relief for those wildfires, but the drought too, we can see big area over Denver, so we really don't have much precipitation that we're looking forward to here in the future. So we can see a bit cooler for tomorrow, that rain chance, and then we're going to start having sunshine. Those warm temperatures slowly climb back into this weekend. Perfect sunshine, 96, maybe a bit hot for that game on Saturday, but I'm expecting it to be pretty nice. Ladies, back to you.
Thanks, Mikayla. Apple is urging iPhone users to download the new iOS update. The urgent update blocks hackers from accessing a user's iPhone without clicking on any links. An Israeli firm NSO Group have been using the malware, also known as Pegasus, to spy on journalists and human rights activists. In a lawsuit filed back in 2019, the group denied allegations on being complicit in a hack of mobile devices using WhatsApp.
A blue blood is coming to town. Parker Abels, tell us more.
Yes, ladies, Nebraska is coming to town on Saturday, and OU running back might be double the trouble. Stay tuned, sports is next. Welcome back to OU Nightly. I'm Parker Abels. It's time for sports. The historic rivalry between OU and Nebraska is being renewed Saturday at the Palace to celebrate the 50-year anniversary of the game of the century. This will be the first time the two teams have faced off since the Cornhuskers left the Big 12 back in 2010. The Sooners come in as the heavy favorite in the game after demolishing Western Carolina 76-0. OU running back Jayden Knowles is a dual threat, but not in the way you might think.
Good evening on this beautiful Wednesday. My name is Jayden Knowles, and let's go ahead and take a look at the evening planner. As you can see, it's Cinco de Mayo, a beautiful day.
So that's Jayden Knowles on a weekday. But here's Jayden Knowles on the weekend.
Now, I felt great. I was glad to get the opportunity and to play for the O and the Sooners, It felt great.
The Sooners running back is an inspiring weathercaster and spends as much time as possible honing his skills in the Weather Center and right here at OU Nightly inside Gaylord College. But on Saturday, he finally saw substantial action on the football field and responded with 37 yards rushing and a pair of touchdowns, as well as catching for 2 more passes for 65 yards.
Keep on working, whatever I can do to contribute for the team. That's the main thing. The individual goals will come. But as long as we get the W, which we did, that's the main goal.
The OU men's golf team is currently leading the Merritt Collegiate Invitational after 2 days. Patrick Welch is leading the way for the Sooners, shooting under 2 today. The Sooners lead by 1 stroke going into the final day tomorrow. USC has fired head coach Clay Helton after their embarrassing 42-28 loss to Stanford on Saturday. Helton had just started his 7th season with the Trojans and was 46-24 in that time. Dante Williams will take over as USC interim head coach until the USC figures out the direction they want to go. The Cleveland Browns safety Ronnie Harris Jr. was ejected Sunday for pushing Chiefs assistant coach Greg Lewis. But Lewis was the first one to strike, pushing Harris before being pushed. Because of this, Browns are calling for the NFL to discipline Lewis after their actions. Their player did not start the confrontation between the two. Las Vegas Raiders defeated the Baltimore Ravens last night 33-27 in overtime. This was one of the wildest Monday night games in a while, OT and Raiders game time field goal at the end of regulation. This game was also the debut of Peyton and Eli Manning's weekly Monday Night Football broadcast. During the Cardinals-Mets game last night, the first base umpire had some really bad luck. The fielding routine ground ball Cardinals shortstop Edmundo Sosa misfired while throwing the ball to first and nailed the ump right in the face. Umpire Junior Valentine was okay and did finish the game. And right after the show, tune in to OU Volleyball as they take on Abilene Christian at McCaslin Fieldhouse. Ladies, you won't want to miss it.
Of course, and there was a special birthday celebration in New Orleans this weekend.
Find out who hit a big milestone when we come back.
Hello, I'm Allison England at the OU Nightly Update Desk. The recall election vote for Governor Gavin Newsom is underway in California. Voters will decide by tonight whether to recall the governor or have someone new in office. The opposing leader appears to be Larry Elder, and if elected, will become California's first black governor. There are also 46 other replacement candidates on the ballot. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Allison. And the oldest known World War II veteran in America turned 112 this weekend.
To celebrate, this New Orleans native had a Mardi Gras of his own.
The National World War II Museum arranged a Jeep parade and performances by local artists for Lawrence Brooks.
The city of New Orleans also issued an official proclamation recognizing Brooks' birthday.
And Mikayla, can you give us one last look at this week's forecast?
So it's going to be hot the next 2 weeks. We can see this temperature outlook for the next 8 to 14 days. It's going to be a bit hotter than normal. Those cool temperatures are going to be out to the west, and it's going to be a bit drier than normal as well. So we can see that dry air right around Denver here extending a little bit to us. So hot and dry does make for the perfect football weather though. So we can see that sunshine is going to be here Saturday, hot, dry, 96. It may be a bit on the warm side, but ladies, I know I'll be at the football game. How about you?
Yes, I'll definitely be there having family come this weekend, so it's going to be a fun weekend.
Yeah, the hot weather can't stop me from going to the OU Nebraska game, that's for sure.
Well, thanks for watching OU Nightly, brought to you by the Gaylord College of Journalism and Mass Communication on the campus of the University of Oklahoma.
We're here live every weekday at 4:30. Good night.